So my advice would be avoid them. No. I would say I've attempted to do all the bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes myself the first year. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. Um, but what I did do was I recently met with the Hawaii Business Development Center and went to some free accounting hours, and I'd already been on the search for meeting an accountant. But really just finding one that is not only good at what they do, but is also good at teaching, because it's important for you as a business owner to also learn what's going on, even though you're not going to be doing it yourself. And recently, we just found an accountant, Kenyatta. Her company is my personal accountant, and she's really great at working with small businesses, working it within whatever budget you set and sticking to that. And she's just also great at kind of educating while she's doing that and helping us to make financial decisions. I wouldn't try to do taxes yourself.
I think one of the things here in Hawaii that's so challenging is the general excise tax gets tacked onto everything, whether it's a product or a service. And as we pivot into this software as a service model, do we charge general excise tax and maintain our physical presence here in Hawaii, or do we set up an office on the mainland just to process those software as a service? Because if we're servicing a home here in Hawaii, obviously that's a Hawaii-based transaction. But if we're selling software to a company in California, and if we have an office set up in California, which is the plan to do next month, in fact, then we can sort of avoid that general excise tax, which is right. I mean, it's a mainland to mainland transaction, but it's crazy doing business here, because when you try to translate that to other states, they don't even understand. There's no other place where you have to pay a tax on a service. It's always products. So you have sales tax. Every other state has a sales tax. So that's been challenging, and it's just, the 4.7 whatever % you have to add on to things, and it's different by island, so it's a lot of record keeping. So I wish there was a better way. I am 100% okay with paying taxes and that sort of thing. I get that that's necessary, but it's I wish there was less paperwork.
Minimize your taxes as much as possible. So whatever you can do to do that. When we started, the enterprise zone was still very active. And part of the enterprise zone was the airport, and our main offices are in the airport. And we were doing quite a bit of software development in our kiosks. And so we were able to get into the enterprise zone, which meant we didn't pay any get tax, no state income tax, for I think it was 5 years. And so that's a huge thing for your bottom line. The get is 4, and then the state income tax can be up to 25%. So anything that you can do to minimize tax, and always keep track of expenses, because you're going to write off and decrease your liabilities, and always stay within the rules. You don't want to mess with the tax man.
Taxes are an interesting subject. It's kind of especially when startups are first starting out. There's 2 founders. They're kind of bootstrapping. No one's making money. There's no paycheck. There's no employee benefits. And that's really how we started. I kind of handled my own stuff, and my business partner handled his, in terms of us being able to pay for ourselves to live, right? Taxes are wonderful when you actually are making revenue and you have taxes that you need to actually pay. It's a good problem. But that was like kind of a little bit of a later stage thing. So when we first got started, we absolutely did not think about taxes whatsoever. Of course, once we started making money on the App Store, we needed to get that stuff figured out. But I think in terms of like Hawaii startups, that's going to be a challenge in the future. It's one of the reasons why we're so highly ranked on the Kauffman Index for entrepreneurship and innovation. We're number 12. And then on the flip side, we're one of the number 49 or 50 in terms of the worst places to do business. Part of that comes into looking at tax structure here, rent, lots of like traffic, lots of like areas, employee benefits, employee tax, unemployment tax, stuff like that makes it really difficult to actually do business. And I think that's something that we're going to have to start tackling in the near future in the state in order to keep businesses that, God forbid, actually do well and are making money are going to have to address.
Yeah, taxes are super interesting, especially like a self-employment tax when you're in business for yourself. Of course you have to pay taxes, so it's understanding GET and how and when you need to pay that and how you collect that from your customers. And then also, like, this has happened with the past tax year, we started actually making some money, and one of the things I hadn't been doing was paying estimated taxes throughout the year. And I think that's probably a common thing for startup businesses, and where you're not making a whole lot of money, but then come the end of the year, you're like, oh wow, sweet, we did make money, and then you've got to pay taxes for that entire year. And so that can be a pretty big lump sum that, if there had been more planning throughout the year, so you're paying estimated taxes, or also like doing certain things where you're trying to incur certain expenditures throughout the year to reduce your liability. So that was kind of a, it's always one of those things you're working and so focused on like trying to get into the black and actually make money. And then it's funny when you do make money, then you've got this whole thing where now it becomes a liability. So it's really, it's interesting, and it's a constant, you gotta be thinking ahead. You can't just, it's almost like you reach one hurdle and now there's another hurdle you gotta contend with.
I went to go get my taxes done early on, maybe the first or second year, and this guy named Jacob was at one of those, drive-by tax shops. Just get your taxes done, and he says, you need an accountant really bad. And I said, I don't know if I can afford an accountant. And he said, well, you need to do what you do the best and let other people do what they do the best. I'll be your accountant if you want me to be your accountant. And I said, I would love that, but how much? And he said, I'll do it for free until I see you in a place of making the money that you can pay me. And I'm like, wow. And he says, I have this nonprofit that helps people get their taxes done, and I also am an accountant and a tax advisor in my other time. So he went on to making his own company, Chase Tax Accounting. Chase Accounting is what it's called. And I became a client of his, and within 2 years I was paying a client, and so he takes care of my taxes and everything, accounting and employees still to this day. And I do pay him, and I'm very thankful for him. And that was a beautiful lesson for me, is do what you do best and let somebody else do what they do the best. And then it allows you to really grow your company and what you're interested in and not get caught up in back taxes and all this other stuff. Maybe you're not an accountant, So thank you to Jacob.
I gotta say that when I first begun what I was doing, first got into business, first year of business, I didn't know, and like I said, I didn't go to school for any of this, so I didn't know nothing about taxes, absolutely zero. I was kind of just flying, again, asking people little questions and stuff like this, but oh man, if I could tell you one thing to start out with, just learn taxes. Go to a tax lady, just pay her for 2 hours and sit there and listen. What do I need to do? Before you do anything, before you even get $1 in your bank, talk to a tax person. What do you need to know? Or what do I need to know, I guess? So just go and talk to them. Do I use QuickBooks? What is QuickBooks? What receipts do I keep? Receipts are huge. You've got to have write-offs. Absolutely got to have write-offs. So keep your receipts. You buy something, keep a receipt. Obviously if it's for your business. But a lot of your home receipts, like cell phone, house, home office, things like that, you can write all that stuff off. Your cars, your gas, depreciation on vehicles, insurance, tons of stuff to write off. So first, before you even go and make one sale, first thing, go talk to your tax lady. Ask her what to do, what system do I use to record invoices and receipts and things like that, and then you can go do sales. Got to take care of taxes first. Trust me, you won't have a headache at the end of the year. I used to have my heart just hurt the first year. I knew it was coming. I knew some big old bill was coming. Didn't know how big. It was pretty big. But now I know what's coming and how to deal with it, so it's a huge just relief off my chest. So it's amazing.
Tax stories and mistakes. I feel like I'm still making mistakes in that area, but I would suggest having a good accountant from day one, or at least a friend or somebody you know, just to pick their brain so you understand the rules. One of the mistakes I made was I didn't realize you had to pay separate taxes, because we're a Delaware corporation, but we're in Hawaii. And then there's the Delaware taxes, the Hawaii taxes, and then the federal taxes. And I think I either paid just the Hawaii or just the Delaware, thinking that it counted for both, and it definitely didn't. So just understanding your dates, that's still something I'm like, okay, wait, what day do I have to pay the Hawaii taxes? What day do I have to pay Delaware? And having them in your calendar, or having an accountant or someone who knows that stuff do it for you.